All right, let's do this. All right, perfect, guys. Let me go ahead and get started with this. The first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna share a chart with you guys. Basically, I wanted to talk about four different topics today: unemployment, interest rates, forbearance, and what we're gonna do now. Okay. Starting with unemployment. Let me go ahead and pull this chart. All right. So you guys are aware that somebody's not in mute. Give me a second. I got it. All right, so you're aware that obviously then the news that said that 6.6 million people applied for unemployment, which is what my conversation most of the day yesterday was with other realtors was they were panicking. They're like, wow, this is ridiculous. What's going to happen? Does this mean people apply for unemployment? How are we going to get back to people buying homes? How are we going to get back to all of this? And people were like just scared. Coincidentally, I was almost 3 hours on different conferences talking about this, and I found that this was maybe the best chart. Uh, and everybody that studied the market, studied unemployment on behalf of the government, finances, and even mortgages, pretty much came up with the same conclusion. You are seeing a huge spike in unemployment, but the grand majority that applied for unemployment is not that they got approved or that they really needed it. So first of all, understand that um, I'm looking not besides the chart. I'm looking at it from my own perspective. 12 people called me telling me they're going to apply for unemployment, and out of 12 people, only two people really needed it. They were actually furloughed. The other people were people that were self-employed or moving to self-employment or changing jobs, and they just like, look, man, it's free money. I know even somebody that said, look, uh, my wife works for this company that he owns, and he was like, I'm gonna let her go so she could collect unemployment, even though they don't need it. They're just trying to get like, obviously, I'm not here to judge anybody. We do live in South Florida, and people are gonna take advantage of the system. But a lot for me, out of my circle of people that called me, 12 people, only two people needed it. The other 10 people didn't actually need unemployment. They filed for unemployment. So that gives you a picture of what's happened. You get me? Now, yes, I know I spoke to somebody else and they were like, look, I spoke to about 8 people and at least six got furloughed or got let go. I said, okay. Now, furloughed to me is for you guys to understand means that yes, there's a huge amount of people applying for unemployment, but the moment they allow people to go back to work, whether May 1st or June 1st, that means the unemployment chart goes completely the other way because furlough doesn't mean they were let go. It means that they reduce their hours to zero, but when business comes back, they have a job. So that means that a recovery is going to be a lot faster than what people are panicking because of this whole big number in unemployment. Uh, I know that there's a couple of things affecting us besides the unemployment, which has to do with obviously small mom and pop shops going out of business because they can't pay their employees or maintain their business. With people that own rental properties not being able to evict or charge the late fees to their tenants, and all these things are affecting us in a negative way, which are related to the unemployment. So the first part is I want to put this aside. Don't have fear because of the employment numbers. The media is doing it more to scare you because that's how they get money. Understand there's a positive thing to this in the bounce back. It's going to bounce back. And now that certain companies that will survive cut the dead weight or maybe minimize their expenses where they shouldn't be, we're gonna have a better, maybe in the long run, a better record of unemployment. Okay. So in the long run, I'm not talking about 2 or 3 years from now, I'm talking about maybe in the next year or so, which is our job is to survive at least 3 to 4 months to be able to reap the benefits of this. We're going to have more people with jobs due to companies being able to reassure their business and cut the expenses where they were losing money. All right. Now, talking about businesses, small businesses that are they are thinking about going out of business or whatever. You guys are a source of information, which is why I'm speaking to you. There are the PPP loans, the Paycheck Protection Programs, which basically um, is giving let me stop sharing this, is giving the businesses up to 8 weeks of salary. So, in order to create less people having to file for unemployment, in order for companies to not have to let people go, if they get to at least 2 3 weeks to keep pushing, and they get to apply for these PPP loans, the PPP loans are taking from 3 days to 3 weeks. So it means within a month they can have the money of 8 weeks of paying salaries. So all these companies that are small businesses under $500,000 get to apply for this. Now, this is the truth. If they use the money how they're supposed to keep their employees actually employed, the money is forgivable. It's free money to them. All right. Now, the trick is this: we live in a society that tries to take advantage of things. They will not use it to pay their employees. They will use it to pay their own mortgage and their own bills. And that's where the problem happens, because at that moment it becomes an actual loan and it will not be forgivable. Okay. They could pay the business mortgage, they could pay the business rent, and they could pay their employees with their money. And they could prove it after the 8 weeks, the loan can be 100% forgivable. Okay. Now, what the government did is that instead of doing the loans themselves, because it would take too long to process, they're backing the loans, insuring the actual bank. So if anybody you know needs these type of loans, let me know. I do not do them, but I am pre-screening them before I send them to the bank that does them. The reason I'm pre-screening is because there are certain requirements that they need to meet. They actually have to have a payroll, okay, to be able to validate that, and they have to have filed their taxes, their most recent taxes. Um, Now, I'm going to open for a couple questions in reference to this before I go to the next topic. Does anybody have any questions about what we just spoke about? We're good. Thumbs up. We're good.
Willie,
Yes.
um, these small business loans, do they apply for like for us realtors?
No, this is more for a payroll. There is a different set of plan for self-employed people like yourself, but that's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. I am working on getting more details on that. I got the detailed program for small businesses. So the PPP, the payment protection, is for payroll for people that pay actual payroll. So if you have employees, W-2 employees, this applies to you. And they haven't been specific as to the regulations for people that have 1099, like contractors, like subcontractors or whatever, where they can actually also get some kind of loan for that. But I don't know if it's going to be forgivable. The deal is that there are loans for everybody right now. They just have to apply for them. The situation is what makes it a forgivable loan and what makes it a regular loan. Okay.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. If no questions, I'm gonna push on to interest rates and credit scores, which is the one of the big issues that we're having right now. Um, Rates are all over the place. I don't know if you guys are aware that rates have gone from as low as 3% to as high as 6% in the last weeks. From day to day, even intraday, you're seeing these huge spikes. Yesterday it was a little bit of a higher rate, a higher day. I locked somebody at 4.25 and somebody else at 4.875. Um, the important thing to notice right now, the discussion about rates is just that they're under fives. Under fives is still low because obviously our average in the US is 8.5. If you look at the 90s, it was 11, 12%. So as long as we're under, able to adjust to be able to understand that there's no threes anymore, but five is relatively still a good rate.
Willie, we lost you there for a couple.
Yeah, sorry, somebody was calling my cell phone. All right. So what I'm saying is the rates right now are a little bit high, but they're still relatively low compared to the market. So I know it's going to take a minute for people to adjust to understand that it's not a 3%, but that at 4.5 or 5% is still a good rate. But as long as you guys are all educated and are giving people the same information, we'll be able to get them back on track with those rates. Now, we are expecting for rates to level off, which I'm going to go further into the explanation as to why later in the next topic. But basically, right now, the two things you're seeing is that most of the mortgage brokers are uh, sorry, my son, are requiring 680 credit scores, even for FHA loans. That's dropping a big part of the market. A huge part of the market is being affected because from now on, most mortgage brokers, most of the business cannot do an FHA loan under 680. And if they do it under 680, they have to pay a premium for that interest rate. So this is the big news that people need to be aware of, is that people keep talking about, I'm waiting for the time to buy, I'm waiting for the prices to drop. Most of the people that have been waiting for that just lost their chance of being able to buy a house completely. They're not able to be in business anymore because they have a 640 or a 650 or 670 credit score. So now they're not gonna be able to buy period until next year, right? Now, the good news is, yes, some banks like myself, we're still doing loans as low as 620. But I'll be completely honest with you. I don't know if that's going to last a month or two. We're trying to be the last bank standing, giving the lowest credit score requirements and not having to add any additional fees for that. But I don't know how long it's going to last. So my sense of urgency that I'm imploring you guys is that when you speak to anybody that's thinking about waiting, um, give me a second. There's like an Amber Alert that's going to freeze my phone. I think we're good. To tell them to apply now. They need to go meet with whatever lender you're working with now to see if they could buy a house now, or at least if they can buy a house now, I'm preparing all my buyers to improve their credit scores and their reserves. So when the time comes, they're in the best position to buy. Okay. So the point is urgency. Anybody's asking when's the best time to buy? The best time to buy is now because the banks are still lending to you. Later on, it might be a good time to buy when the value of a house, but unless you have a 720 credit score and actual money in the bank, you might not be able to buy. Okay. And on the reverse, if you're paying rent and you're saying, oh, well, I'll just pay rent for another year at $2,000, you're losing $24,000. $2,000 a month times 12 is $24,000. Guarantee loss. If you were to buy a house now and it does drop, but in a year balances out, you might lose $24,000 in equity, but it'll gain right back. So it's always better to buy in the best time under for people to understand the best time to buy is when the banks are lending. Okay. So that's the next topic that I want to attack is basically forbearance because that's going to affect what banks are lending, who's still in business and who isn't. Before I
Well,
get into that, do you guys have any questions about the rates?
yeah. Do you know how long that credit score for the FHA is gonna carry out? I mean, do they say, do they have like an idea? I'm sure it might.
No. There is no way to know how long they're going to keep the rates that the interest I'm sorry, the credit score requirements that low. The truth is um the government didn't put that. The government hasn't put it. It's just being from a financial standpoint, the banks have decided to do that, and the consensus is that every bank agrees. Now, we at PRMG discussed yesterday that we believe that the fastest way to recovery, and I'm explaining to you why, is to keep accepting those low credit scores. Is because regardless if I approve you today for 620, um, and let's say the market does recover in 3, 4, 5 months, it takes you about 3 months to find a house. So just the fact that I'm accepting these approvals, I'm being completely honest with you. The fact that I'm accepting it and they might not close in the next 30 days, they might take 3 months. If they loosen up the guidelines again in 3 months, I'm already gonna have a huge pipeline of clients, which is why I don't want you guys to turn down somebody that doesn't have good credit. I want you guys to send it to the lender so you could build the pipeline. So in 3, 4, 5 months, when the market recovers, you're able to close a big pipeline thanks to that.
Oh, definitely, because the thing is, a lot of clients are first time buyers, and that's usually the loans they'll use. I mean, that's why it's a big hit.
Yeah, it is. But the first time home buyers is actually the next part I'm gonna talk to is forbearance. Um, and I'm gonna go a little bit more into the market and who you're gonna target and what we believe the steady market will be on. Um, so I'll break that down now. But do you guys have any questions anymore? Any other questions about rates or anything like that? All right, let's move on to forbearance. This is the question that generated this phone call. The reason I did this is because the forbearance conversation that I'm having with most people. Most people are asking, can they miss their mortgage payment? Can they stop making their mortgage payment? What's going to happen to them? And how is that going to work? Good news is that now they're not going to be able to report you late. If you're on a forbearance and you applied for it going April 1st going forward, if you were late last month, you're screwed. You're going to be reported late, even if you get into a forbearance. If you apply for it going forward from April, yes, there could be human error or they still report you late. You got to get it corrected. But the truth is that they are not having to report you late. Okay. So that's the good news. The second part is going for up to 6 months. All right. So they can give you a forbearance for up to 6 months and not having to make your mortgage payment. And that's the good news. Now, the bad news for you guys, and the reason I'm having this conversation with you guys is because I need you guys to help me control this. Basically, right now, if everybody applies for forbearance this month, and more people are doing it this month before they actually know that they can't make a payment, they can make their April payment, but they're still applying for forbearance ahead of time. This is causing a problem because in the bill that the government passed, they passed a way to solve this, but it hasn't been implemented. If everybody applies for forbearance right now in the month of April, the banks that are holding the servicing rights are going to go bankrupt. If they go bankrupt, it's going to cause a chain reaction where the banks are not going to lend. If the banks don't lend, then is when you see a crisis of market values dropping because basically nobody's going to be able to buy. So I'm imploring you guys to be the professionals and speak to whoever's thinking about doing this. Tell them, yes, it's great news. You can do this, this, and this, but don't do it until you absolutely need it. If you could make the April payment, the May payment, then apply for it. The reason is because it's taking a time for the government to adjust to be able to buy the servicing rights. They projected that if 25% of the population that owns houses applies for this in this month, it's going to cost a $7 billion loss for that part of the industry. What happens is the investor that holds your actual loan gets paid no matter what. They're guaranteed. The servicing company that collects the payments from you, which is in between you and the actual lender that has a debt, has a guarantee that they have to pay that to them. So they're going to have to pay out all that money and possibly go bankrupt because they don't have the funds to sustain 3 months or 6 months of being able to pay those mortgages for you. Okay. So right now, everybody needs to educate your client. It's very easy to do. You contact your company. You could even do it online. It's super easy. Anybody can do it, but don't do it yet. Wait till the absolute moment when you need to use it, where you can not actually make the payment to do it. Why am I telling you this? Why should the customer care? Let's say it's a customer that has a mortgage payment for $2,000. Guys, I'm gonna call. Let's say they saved in 3 months $6,000, in 6 months $12,000. If everybody does it, understand that $12,000 they saved could cause them to lose $100,000 worth of equity, because if the bank stop lending, is the only thing that will cause the values to drop. What people are thinking, oh, you're going to be 2008 and they're going to drop to 30, 40, 50%. That's not going to happen. It's only going to happen if everybody applies for forbearance this month and the banks decide to stop lending. All right. So I need you guys to help and delay that until the government steps in. The government already has a plan in place. They just haven't delivered it, and they're going to start rolling it out. The plan is they're going to start buying those servicing rights. That's a good thing. That's an awesome thing. Why is that so good? Because instead of doing the opposite and causing companies to go bankrupt, it's going to allow the companies to be more liquid, because it's going to buy them, give them money for their rights. And them being more liquid is going to make them want to open up to lend more money. Lending more money is going to open up to more options, loosening up guidelines, loosening up credit scores, and putting more money in the market for people to be able to buy, which means a faster recovery. So right now it's on you guys as the realtors that you guys could help us save the market by educating the customers the right way. All right. Anybody have any questions about that?
As with the unemployment help that people are applying right now, I understand that people that are doing it later on, the one that really need it, let's say, it's gonna take longer for them until the government start with the ones that started first.
So you're talking about the unemployment. I'm not talking about, you could apply for unemployment.
I know, but I have a point here. Same thing with the mortgage forbearance. Yes, let's say I've been talking with my clients, telling them to please pay April and wait for it. This shouldn't be that hard. But do you think that if people wait, let's say we wait until May, and then June we keep in, I don't know, the thing keeps going at the way it is, how long it will take after everyone is applying for the bank to get to you to give you a remedy? That's my concern with the clients, actually.
Okay, so I get your concern, and this is what we learned from 2008, is that basically banks are doing it super simple. You go onto the website and you do it. You don't have to wait for somebody to to give you money. It's not like unemployment where they're sending you checks or they're processing that. Literally, you're going to the website, you're clicking the request, and yes, they have to approve it, but you're covered from the moment um, you are
Using.
requested. Now, the moment the thing is this, and this is the negative and the good thing about this, is that basically there isn't a lot to rework to review for them to approve you. This is the problem. This is the big issue where we had where us banks are fighting with the governments because they said you don't have to prove anything. All you have to do is attest. So when you go online and you attest, even though they haven't given you the approval, the bank doesn't have to review anything to approve you, other than the fact that you attested that you're having issues making your mortgage payment because of the coronavirus. Versus back in 2008, when you did this, you had to prove and document how did it affect you, which is why it took so long to process all these requests. Right now, it shouldn't take long to process because literally all you're doing is putting your information and attesting that you're having issues paying your mortgage. Even if you're still making money, even if you still have you're like, let's say you're a nurse and you're making money and you're working, you could attest you're having problems just because you're having difficulties, I don't know, managing your stuff. All you do is attest, which is the issue that we're having, is that the fact that they did it incorrectly like that, they did it for everybody, that not everybody can take advantage of it, is why the banks are so afraid. Because even people that can't pay their mortgage right now are not going to pay. But it's not the concern of whether they be able to process it later or not.
Makes
They will be
sense.
able to process it.
Makes sense. Thank you.
No worries. Any other questions on that? Okay, perfect. The last part. What do we do now? How do we do this? Why are we here? Why am I talking to you guys? Most of the realtors here are realtors that work with me and they're part of my team. A lot of you are not, but I put this public because I want to make like as a public announcement. Basically, only the strong are going to survive. Everybody who's here, who's going to keep sticking to it, calling the leads and busting their butts to keep clients, are going to survive. The way the predictions happen, the way we broke it down as to where we're losing business, I'm going to break it down for you right now. Non-QM, which means bank statement loans, foreign nationals, all those loans are out of the business, but they only amounted to 19% of the business um, for the actual business. Um, the good thing about it is that for me, anybody that came for the bank statement loan, I was able to turn them into a tax program. So for loan officers like me that focus on the regular primary residence loans, FHAs, conventional, it's a win. Okay. For a lot of people that try to take the easy way out and give the client a higher rate just because it was easier to do a bank statement loan, they're out of the game. So that means that whole market, they're no longer in competition with people like us. The other part of the market that basically dwindled down is it's jumbos. All the investors are scared of doing jumbo loans because that's normally the first part that is hit by these like hard times, because the people that have the money to buy those like big properties of $1,750,000 are having an issue. Um, they're the ones that when they don't buy, it affects that value. Those values drop a lot harder. Now, the properties that we're talking about, single family homes between 250 and 400,000, which is the majority of the market, is going to stay relatively safe. The reason is because even if half the people that we're going to buy decide not to buy, there's still so much demand and there's so little properties available in the market. So the reason I'm telling you only strong are going to survive is because there's people right now that are, unlike you and me, are decided not to work. They're frustrated. They don't believe in the game. They're looking for something else to do, and they're leaving the business. But there's other people like me and a lot of my realtors who have decided to keep pushing forward, keep calling leads, keep filling up the pipeline. So if you were scheduled to do, let's say, 2 loans this month, 2 loans next month, 2 loans in the month of June, and unfortunately you can't do them right now, but you kept working, in the month of July, you might have all 6 loans or 5 loans at one time. So you'll have a great July, a great August, as long as you kept working. The reason is because most of the people are scared to pull the trigger. Doesn't mean that they blew all their money. It doesn't mean that they weren't in a position to buy or not going to be in a position to buy in 4 months. I know that logical says, yeah, they're going to blow it because they have no income or they have whatever. But the truth is that they're not. I've spoken to a lot of my clients that have pre-approved. A lot of my clients are like, look, I'm scared of buying right now. I have $20 in the bank and I don't know if I should take it out. I don't need it. I have money and these are hardworking people. They're not people that are rich. understand that most of the people that are in a position to buy, more likely are going to be able to be in a position to buy in 4 or 5 months again. So your job is to keep picking up more people like that and keep building up that pipeline. So when it returns, you'll be the first one to start closing more loans versus the rest of your competitors are going to get out of the game. So with the information I gave you today about forbearance, you guys are going to help me keep the market stable and keep financing available for your own clients. With the information that I gave you about the unemployment, I'm trying to take away your fear about where the business is going and trying to reassure you that in 3 or 4 months, we'll be back to, maybe not back to normal, but we'll be back to doing business. Okay? So what are we going to do now is inform people correctly. Postpone your forbearance as much as you can. If you are considering having your boss fire you, just talk to you about doing furloughs and things like that so you can have a guaranteed job when you come back. The reason I asked that is because if they still want to buy and they got one paycheck when they went back to work, I can do the loan. I don't have to wait 3 months. I don't have to wait a month. I just need one paycheck from when they went back to work. Okay? All right. Now, any questions about what I just said about the scenarios, about the bank statement loans, the foreign nationals, any questions about the jumbos, any question about where you should be focusing, who you should be targeting? Nope. Cool. So on my end, I know that with a lot of agents I'm working with, I'm talking about prospecting. Conversations that we're having most of these people is not about buying or selling as much as, if you decide to buy eventually, if things get back to normal and you decide to buy, what are you looking for? And you're just having kind of ready. As I go back to the interest rates and everything, this is the time for you to speak to somebody like me or a lender that you have that could help these people get ready to buy, whether in 3 months, 6 months, or a year from now. And the sense of urgency is more prevalent now than ever to get them into a conversation with a lender. Number one, because they have the time to find the documents that they didn't have before because they're not busy working. Number two, because the lender, as busy as I am, I'm able to take more calls throughout the day because I am home. I'm saving 2 hours of traffic. And number three, if you guys are really decided to stay in this game, if you guys want to be in this business in 6 months from now, you guys need to work harder now than you ever did before to do something you never did before, which is probably to prospect, to talk to your relatives, friends, and family about what you believe in the market is. Everybody's thinking the worst case scenario. Everybody's talking about negativity. You guys have to be positive and get people at least one step further into a plan. Get people at least one step further into thinking about selling. Get people at least one step further, because when people are talking about, the property prices are going to drop, they don't understand that the prices today are based on the last 3 months. That means that you're not going to see properties really drop until 3 months from now, because right now is when you're seeing people really slowing down. Because I had 7 closings until last week. I had 5 closings. So the record of sales, the public record of actual sales up to last week was very strong. So that means that property values are going to drop this month or next month. So if you're working on getting a listing, tell your sellers, you need to list your property now if you want to get the maximum value, because the actual appraisals are going to be looking at the sales that happened this month for the values in 3 months from now. And if you see a downturn in those values, your property value is going to drop. But if you do list the property now and we get your property under contract this month or next month, even though the property isn't closed until 30 days after that, we already have the appraisal. We'll be able to get you the maximum dollar. Right now is the time to put in more work, to speak with more people about the sense of urgency of applying now. Now, maybe most people don't care about the market or how this helps, but understanding each closing is helping our economy to get back to normal faster. The more closings we have, the more we pay fees to the tax, to the county, the more we rotate funds from one person to another that allows them to not have to file for unemployment or forbearances. The more we get people that have the ability to buy actually buying, the more we're going to get the market back on track. Everybody understood? That's it. I'm done for today. Yes. If anybody has any questions, I'm here to help.
Thank you.
Thank you, Willie.
All right. And does anybody have any questions about anything other I mean, I know real estate wise, but anything to do outside of this conversation?
Well, yeah, I
Any
mean,
doubts?
on your end, I mean, like, are you seeing though that you're having less loans being approved or less closings?
So I am seeing people that got so this is what's happening for me. I'm good, and I think I'm just blessed because I keep working so hard and I don't stop working no matter what, and I wake up early and I go to sleep doing this. That people are reaching out to me because their loans are getting denied in other places. So I've got 2 contracts right now that I just got because they got denied because a broker's credit score limit lower increased to 620 to 680, and I'm still able to do it under that. So for me personally, I'm doing well, and I'm gonna continue doing well because I'm gonna find, like I said, I'm gonna keep working, and if I have to call 10 times more people than I did before to just get one loan, I'm gonna do it. But I am seeing other people in the market losing a lot of business because of these new guidelines. And some
Now,
of these people that they turned down that loan, that was their only loan for the month.
now, because the thing that I'm hearing the most, and I'm making a bunch of calls, but the thing that I'm hearing the most is everybody's just completely convinced that we're headed for 2008, 2009, and that's why they don't want to buy because they're thinking that that's what's going to happen. Obviously, like you said, it's our job to give them information, but some of these people are just so set in their ways that they think that this is it, and that's where I'm having a little bit of trouble right now.
Yeah. So look, confidence is key. Confidence with the way when you relay your information about what's going on, which is what I'm trying to do with you guys, inform you so you guys are confident to tell people this information. Number one, it cannot be 2008. It cannot be 2008. If you were here in 2008 and I wasn't here, I was doing the loans, I would lend anybody money if you had a pulse. If you had a 700 credit score and you were a janitor, you could buy $2 million worth of property. And I'm using this term because I did it. I bought under my father's name, who was a janitor, who made $36,000 a year, over $2 million worth of property, 100% financed. You understand the risk ramifications of not being invested, not even 1% into buying a property, and not worrying about you having a job to be able to pay this? That was the big downfall of 2008, that most people are talking and they don't know that. They don't understand that's how it works. Now, the last, I would say 5 years, 6 years of financing, we haven't really cared about credit scores as much as we cared about ability to pay, steady job, steady income. So if you're worried about 2008 again, don't be. I showed you the unemployment thing, which was ridiculously high. But I also tell you that as long as people get back to work, you're going to choose to keep paying your house because you still have a job versus just letting go of the property because you really couldn't pay it. I lost my property. I bought my property in 2008 for 470, and I lost it in 2009 because I really couldn't pay it. I was in the mortgage business. I had a bunch of properties, and I couldn't pay them. Mortgage went to zero, and I had to let it go. Yeah, I lost it. The person that bought it cash for 250 in 2009, but I kept track of the property. The same property sold in 2018, almost a little bit less than 2 years, 10 years later, for 535,000. I experienced that if I would have kept the property, I would have saved more money. My amount in rent for those 10 years that I lost was $240,000. I lost $240,000 in rent if I would have stayed renting, versus gaining a $55,000 profit in equity in my house. People don't understand that even if you're telling me this is 2008, you should still buy because you can't afford to pay 10 years worth of rent and guarantee that you're going to lose $300,000. That's a guarantee that you could confidently tell somebody. I could guarantee that in the next 10 years, you will lose more money renting than buying a house in the worst market. But I don't think we're in the worst market. I don't think it's going to happen like 2008 because the parameters are different. Everybody I lent money to in the last 6 years has been based on employment. And they're going to survive. And if they have to choose, we're letting go of their house that they've been paying for the last 3 years to go rent, but they still have a job, they're not going to do that. they're going to keep paying for it.
Now, I want to make a comment to Guillermo, because if he's getting that a lot on his phone calls, how do you take back control of that conversation with your client?
Well,
It's
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
go. It's about the opportunity. So when you're having a conversation with a client, they give you clues as to where they're going to go. So that's more of a, maybe that's a different skill that we, maybe
Yeah.
I'll refer some books that
The
will help you
reason why
speak to
I'm
people.
asking is because Guillermo, for those who don't know, is one of my realtors, and he does consistently make phone calls all day long, right? So if that is the pushback that he's getting from his clients or his leads, I want to know, how is it that he wheels back that conversation to take back control and have them start thinking about maybe this is the right time for them, instead of just ending the conversation there?
Yeah. Okay. So I call people myself too, and I go through this, and I found that maybe I don't have the issue as much as he does, because my conversation from the moment I open the conversation is I'm very confident about what I'm speaking, which is, again, the information that I'm relying to you. I want you guys to rely with confidence. You got me? When you tell people confidently, it's not going to be in 2008. They're going to be like, okay, what do you mean? Like if they say, no, the same thing's happen, interrupt them and say, it's not. I guarantee it will not happen because of this. People don't know that. People don't realize that in 2008 we lent money to people without having jobs.
No, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Whenever I get across that, and that's because of everything that you had mentioned on previous conversations, is that pretty much that 2008 was just a completely different monster. Banks were just giving out money to anybody because it was the only thing they were checking was credit. Now they're checking a lot more, as to income and all that. So, and what you told me, that banks stopped lending back then. This is a virus. This is a completely different monster. But in some cases they break through, and others, they're just so set in their ways that they'll argue it with you. I have a cousin that's an economist. I even heard that. So you get all kinds of answers.
Yeah. So I'm giving you two different perspectives. On the negative side, on the positive side, it's not 2008. On the negative side, use my example. If you ask a person, how much are you paying rent right now? What is your current rent?
Yeah, and that's the other thing I wanted to ask you, because I have clients that I talk to a lot of past renters. They're asking me if rent's going to go down.
No, the rent's definitely going to go up. Understand that the amount of people that are going to be looking for rent,
they're gonna be more.
Are going to be more. That means there's a higher demand of rent. That means the rent's going to go up. Landlords. Oh, consider this. I didn't even talk about this. Consider all right. So a forbearance typically could go with a modification. Typically it can, and I expect for it to go like that. But a forbearance means that it's basically I could defer my payment for 4 months, and in a month 4 I got to pay 4 months together, which is an issue. Unless they modify your loan to add it to the back of the loan, people are going to be in deep, deep trouble. All right. But same thing with the rents. So I was talking negatively about the rents yesterday to a couple of agents. And the funny thing is that we discussed a positive thing out of it. Negative part. Okay. Negative part is that think about, I'm a landlord. Think about my tenants. My tenants didn't pay March, didn't pay April, don't pay. Now in June, I'm okay, cool. We're back to normal. Now you owe me 4 months of rent. How are you going to pay for that? Now, all of a sudden, they got to pay 4 months. Guess what they're going to do? They're not going to pay. They're going to say, you know what? Evict me. Because now I'm going to look for a new place to rent. So for realtors, the opportunity is, guess what? Now you have even more clients looking to get rents. And since they haven't been able to be reported evicted or whatever because of all the laws that are in place, they're not going to have a record of any of this. So if you are, I'm telling you this, a key, very important, is that if you are on it right now, calling leads and picking up these clients, the moment these things start getting back to normal, for that first month or two, you can make a killing in rents or even closings because you have the information to know, hey, you know what? you know what, I'm renting right now, but I have an issue. They're gonna tell you the truth, and I want to encourage them to pay the rent. I'm a landlord, so I want to pay the rent. But I know the truth is that most people and most landlords are not understanding like me. They're going to get mad. They're going to get and they're going to argument with these people, and people are going to decide just to leave and take. They're gonna have to come up with 4 months to pay the lease that's almost done. They might as well just put that into their new lease or put it into the purchase of a house. So looked at into the positive fact and into the positive factor. A lot of people are getting a lot more help now than we did in 2008. A lot of the government stepping up a lot better than they did in 2008. They're putting a lot more programs now. The market cannot be the same. And this information that I'm giving you now should be a conversation you have with every single one of your clients, no matter what what the issue is. I'm giving you a rebuttal for almost everything. The problem is they don't let you speak and they don't let you deliver it unless you do it with confidence.
Right.
William, non-QM lenders have to abide to the new rules of not accepting forbearance and everything, or they're not?
I responded on the thing. QM should be, but there's two different types of non-QM. There's QM that abides by our rules, and they have to. But non-QM also has a mix of actual private lenders, which is completely open to whatever they want to do. They don't abide by our same guidelines. So for me to know what type of loan he's going to accept, I wouldn't be sure. Like if it's an Angel Oak, they're gonna. If it's a BAC, one of those banks, yes, they're going to abide because they have our rules and regulations. But I don't know if most of them are.
The one that lend to foreign national, let's say a back Florida bank, Helm Bank, those banks.
Yeah, they should apply. They should have the same benefits. But also the only other thing you have to concern is that most of the help is for primary residents. So if these properties were labeled as investments, which a lot of the non-QM might be, or second homes, they might not get the same benefits.
And Willie, question, because I did this with my car payment. You know, I hold off paying for 1 or 2 months, and then they tag it on at the end. So last is gonna be like three payments in one. But they told me that I can make payments, like extra payments, before that last payment. With mortgages, is that going to work the same way, or?
Yeah, that works the same way. The biggest concern is, and this answers a question that we had before, is processing. The processing issue has to do with the modification. The forbearance is working more over like a deferment where they're gonna push back your payments for 4 to 6 months, and you're gonna have them do in full in 4 to 6 months. That's what causes the problem. That's what causes the problem in the business because people are not going to be able to do it. So when I think it was Julio asking me about if in June there's gonna be a delay, there's not gonna be a delay in June with people applying for the forbearance. There will be a delay in 6 months from now with the people that are gonna have to pay the amount in full and they have to apply for the actual modification. Because the modification is going to either allow them to put the total balance at the end of the loan, or if they're going to give them another 6 months to get caught up, this is not set in stone yet. Again, all they did is put a plan right now, and we're waiting for the rest of the solutions. We know the possible options, which are that most people that did a forbearance are not going to be able to pay 4 months at one time and 4 months from now. So we already, and the government already said that, well, they're probably going to need to do a modification, or there will have to be another extension. They haven't approved that. They're just debating how they're going to have back up the banks to support that.
So it's going to be like a balloon?
It is a balloon. Right now, it's considered a balloon. Like anybody you speak to understand that if they do it for forbearance, more than likely you're going to have to pay the balloon in 4 months. Okay. And now to do a modification, understand that to do a modification that gets approved by a bank, because I know people are going to think about that, you have to be employed. They're not going to do it right now if you're just unemployed. For that, they're just going to proceed with the foreclosure. But if they do a modification and you're employed, even though it's a lower income, then they're going to use that to determine how they're going to help you. I'm telling you this because most people try to apply for a modification saying, hey, I don't have a job or unemployed or to stall from getting a job because like that they would get a better deal on their house, and it doesn't work like that.
Got it.
All right. Any other questions? Comments? I have 4 minutes.
Thank you, William. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Thank you, Winnie.
I'll put my information here. If anybody has any questions, I know most of you guys know me. Here's my number. 3676. And if there's any other updates that change in the business, I'll make sure to send everybody another Zoom so we can do it again. Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Say bye, Gordo. Wait over here.
Bye.
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 God bless you.
No, right there.
Yeah, it's right here, baby.
I know.
All right, guys.
Bye.